One of the coolest projects that I've got going, and it comes out in September, is I wrote the novel for the new Rush album, Clockwork Angels. And the album just came out about 2 weeks ago. It's a big steampunk fantasy adventure story, a concept album. It's like as if somebody wrote the novel to Pink Floyd's The Wall or The Who's Tommy or something like that. My very, very first novel back in 1988, called Resurrection Inc., was entirely inspired by the Rush album, Grace Under Pressure. And I put that in the acknowledgments, and when it was published in paperback, because I was a first-time author, it was just a little paperback, horrible cover. It had a stone skull with a spaceship flying over its head. But it was my first novel, and I was thrilled with it, so I autographed a copy to the 3 members of Rush and just mailed copies of the book to Mercury Records, whereupon it vanished for a long time. And about a year later, I got a letter in my mailbox from Neil Peart, the drummer and lyricist from Rush. That was in about 1989. And we've been friends ever since, and we've written a story together. He wrote the introduction to my short story collection. And all along, we've been sort of looking for a project that we could work on together. And about 2 years ago, he talked to me about this new concept he had for their next album. They only do an album about every 5 years or so. And he was fascinated by steampunk, and he had this story and some scenes in his head and some characters. And we talked about it a lot, about how to develop the story, and I thought I was just kind of helping him develop the story. And then we had lunch with him in Santa Monica 6-8 months after that. My wife and I had lunch with him, and he was so excited about this and talking about that they were going to do a Broadway musical and Ice Follies show and a big novel that told the whole story. And my wife, who's my biggest advocate and my business manager and everything, quickly asked the right question and said, "And who's going to do the novel?" And Neil just blinked and said, "Well, Kevin, of course." So that's what we've done. We've got Clockwork Angels, the novel, and it's got a bunch of illustrations. It's full color hardcover. There's color all the way through it. It's got paintings by Rush's album artist, the guy who does all their covers and everything. And it's just one of the coolest projects that I've done in a long time. And of the 115 novels or so that I've written, this is one of my favorite ones. I think it just really all came together. And if you, how many Rush fans are in the audience?
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you don't have to be a Rush fan to enjoy the book either. It's a fantasy adventure, so.
You know, Kevin, when we have, we exchange emails, the group we're in, and everybody, when you think about the properties that we all get, you would think there'd be a lot of envy, and I've never seen any envy on the list, except in one case, when he was going to do the Rush novel, then suddenly it was like, oh, there were so many Rush fans in there.
Death threats and everything.
So, I want to hear it. You have to understand that every Rush fan thinks that they are the biggest Rush fan ever. Every single Rush fan thinks they're the biggest Rush fan ever, so.
So Glenn, are you going to be doing the Ice Folly show?
I want to hear more about Vitor and the Snow.
Yes.
Glenn, do you have a question for Kevin?